Before we jump into today's video, I just want to let everyone out there know that every video this week was pre-recorded in advance. So things may have changed in between me recording this video and uploading it. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. Just wanted to kind of have this disclaimer in front of my videos this week, just so everybody knows what the deal is. But let's get into the video now. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. It is finally time to do my power rankings for the Eastern region for the Overwatch League 2023 season. This is a really tough power rankings for me to do because a lot of the teams are in weird spots where they either haven't announced their roster or haven't announced their full roster, or haven't even gotten close to announcing 6 players yet. So some of these teams could definitely move up or down before, by the time the season starts. I am recording this earlier than I would normally do for power rankings, but I'm out of town at the moment, so that's kind of why I'm recording this early. So things definitely could change, like I said in the kind of intro bit of this video. But this is going to be the APAC power rankings to the best of my ability. Like I said in the video on Wednesday, these are my thoughts, these are my opinions. You may agree, you may disagree, whatever. All good fun. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below your thoughts on the power rankings, where you rank teams, who you think is the best team, worst team in this region, whatever it may be. Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, I will always be talking about these teams when the season begins, and as we kind of as things change when I come back. Who knows where things are right now, but for now, let's go. Let's jump in and let's get started with the power rankings for the APAC Eastern region. Coming in at number 7, kind of forcefully, we have the Chengdu Hunters. I don't even know what their roster is. I don't know who they have. I don't know what they're doing. I know there's some rumors about their OPR accounts being used, so clearly somewhere there are some players on this roster. They have been, announced to be a part of the 2023 season, despite all of the rumors and things that have kind of been pointing to the fact that this team is going to play, even if they are going to be a little bit different than what we saw from them previously. So not really much to say about this team. They don't have a roster right now when I'm recording this, so really it's just kind of by proxy. Even when they do have a roster, I'd be surprised if it was a super good roster. I get kind of 2021 Valiant vibes from this team right now, so that's really all I can say about a Hunters roster that we don't know anything about. So let's go into the actual meat and potatoes and talk about a roster that we do know about at number 6. At number 6, I have the Shanghai Dragons. Now, this team, of course, only a couple of years removed from winning the Overwatch League Grand Finals. Very, very good season from them in 2021. Last year, overall, a pretty good season. They did get bounced somewhat early in the playoffs, but still had a pretty good season. They won the Summer Showdown last year. But, of course, the big elephant in the room with this Dragons team is that they are owned by NetEase. And NetEase, of course, is the company who no longer operates the local versions of Blizzard games. That was kind of the big thing they did for years. They had that big falling out. They're kind of the reason why the APAC region is in shambles this year. And when you look at this roster, it's pretty clear why I have them decently low on this list. I trust Moon as a player, but the fact that this team consists of Fleta as a tank and 3 flex supports, including a former damage player who we've never seen play flex support, someone who's probably going to be a main support who last year was arguably the worst main support in the league, and then a player coach. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I have pretty mixed feelings about this team. Last time Moon did an experiment putting players off-rolling, it did not go particularly well, if you remember that 2019 Valiant squad. This, to me, just screams a team that is just not looking at this season as a winning year. They're not really going for a dub this year. They're not really looking to be an incredible team this year. They're just looking to field the team and do what they can. It's weird. It's odd. I really don't like what they're doing here. Viper and Hisu are good, I guess, as the damage duo, but all in all, this is an odd team. It's been pretty telegraphed that that's what this team wants to be. They don't really feel like one of the kind of best teams in the region. And so, to me, pretty clear number 6 placement for them here. Moving on to number 5, this is where it starts to get a little bit trickier to place the teams in their spots. But I am going with the Seoul Infernal as the number 5 team here. I think this team has a very good chance to potentially finish higher than this. I think they have a lot of players that I really like on this team. Players like MN3 and Zest, who looked very good last year. I thought Fixa was a solid main support last year, nothing incredible. And then you have players in Mag and Skewed, who I think are the big question marks on this team. Yes, they're both Overwatch League players. They're veterans. They're guys who've been around now for several years. Mag has not been what we thought he would be when he joined the Overwatch League back in 2021. Obviously, everyone thought he was going to be Rookie of the Year, best new player, and he just hasn't been that yet. And Skewed, as good as he was with the LA Gladiators, he was never their primary flex support player. He played a lot of Brig, he played a lot of second fiddle to Shu and double flex comps. So we don't know what to expect out of him as the solo flex support, and his time in Contenders was on a team that wasn't very good. So I have hope for this team. I think they have pieces that I really, really like and that I think can do a lot. But there's just a little bit too much of a question mark around kind of the whole roster outside of MN3 and Zest. That really, to me, just makes this team confusing. Like I said, I don't know who their 6th player is yet. We haven't gotten that point to that point yet for me in the offseason to know what their plan is for the number 6 player on this team. If they added a flex tank, this team could definitely move up. But I just think right now, this is a team where I don't think they have super high highs potentially, but I also think that their floor is pretty good. I don't think they're going to be a really bad team. I think they'll be able to compete with everyone in this region. And I could see them even being, a top 3 team in this region. But I just have a little bit too much hesitation about where their overall ceiling is, that I just can't really put them super high on this list. So they are here at number 5. At number 4, maybe a bit of a surprise here, just a little bit above the Seoul Infernal, I have the Seoul Dynasty. This is a team that's interesting to me. I think my biggest concern with this team is flexibility. How well are they going to do in certain compositions? But when you look at who they have kind of in their star power levels on this team, you have Prophet, man. You have the greatest Overwatch player of all time in Prophet, and you have Void, one of the greatest Overwatch League players of all time, right? Even if we get into a meta where Void's maybe not favored, he is still going to be one of the best when it comes to those off-tank compositions, right? In a Sigma meta, in a Diva meta, in a Zarya meta, whatever. I feel really good about Void. I think Void should be, I don't think he'll struggle picking up heroes like Ramatra. So I think that they have a bit of a higher high because I really trust Prophet and Void a lot. It'll be interesting to see what happens with their support line. They're my biggest question mark on this team. How well is Lee Soo-min going to do as the flex support? How well is Krillin going to do making a transition over to main support? If they hit a double flex meta, I love what this team is able to do. I think Krillin looked very, very good last year. And Lee Soo-min is a flex support player, right? That's his comfort. That's what he should be good at, is those flex support picks. So, like I said, if we get into one of those metas, that's where I think Lee Soo-min will look very good. Even if it's a Brig meta, potentially, he'll play the Brig over Krillin. I think there's at least some level of flexibility depending on what you need, what you kind of get in terms of the heroes. And then you have the other Prophet, O2 Blast Prophet here, who is the hit scan player. He'll be interesting to see how kind of he works with this team as well. But this is a type of team where I can see a meta where this team is really, really, really hard to beat. But I also see quite a few metas where they're going to struggle. I think main tank metas, I think Winston's, I think Ryan's, those are the types of metas that I don't feel great about them in. But as a whole, I think they have a lot of really solid pieces, really solid players. And I think that their floor is very, very high, and I think their ceiling is very, very high. But I think there is a lot of kind of room in between there where they could be either, at the top end or pretty close to the bottom end in certain areas. So I'm curious to see where this team closes out. Right now, I have to put them here at number 4. At number 3, I have the Guangzhou Charge. Now, this is certainly an interesting placement for this team. A team that technically, like I said in my roster breakdown for them last week, we don't know what this roster is. We don't know who's on this team officially confirmed, but everything is pointing to this team being largely the same team they had last year at the end of the year, and that team was very good. I think some people don't necessarily realize how good they were down the stretch. Some teams start well and drop off. Some teams start poorly and get better towards the end of the season. Guangzhou Sharks were really, really good last year at the end of the year. 8-4 overall in that kind of last kind of half of the season. Almost won that first play-in game against the Chengdu Hunters. So this is a team in a good place. They're a solid roster. I like a lot of their players. I know what they are, and that is a big part of why I'm confident in this roster's ability. There's not really many big question marks. I know what you get out of Choi Se-won and Jimmy. I saw it last year. I know what you get out of Farway and Xerneas. I've seen it for the past couple of years. And I know what I get out of Piggy. I've seen it, right? I think that they have limitations. I would definitely like to see them get a main tank, but I have fewer concerns about what they're able to play, especially in that support line and with that damage duo of Choi Se-won and Jimmy when you compare it to a team like the Seoul Dynasty. Very, very close. Depending on who the sixth man is for both of these teams, that could be a flip-flop kind of move, or maybe the Charge drop down, maybe the Dynasty move up. Very, very close. But right now, this team to me is more of a known quantity. I thought they looked very good down the stretch last year. I think with more time, this team will look better, right? Piggy came in last year, very late in the year, and they still looked very good when he came in. So I want to see more out of him on this team, and I want to see more of what they're able to do as a unit once they kind of come together fully and get a full offseason to work with each other. But I do like what this team is. I think they looked good last year. I'm not going to deny that they had a very, very, very big run at the end of the year. And I think they have what it takes to be a competitive team in this APAC region in 2023. So, to me, top 3 team makes a lot of sense. I think most people agree that this APAC region is a 2-horse race this year between my top 2 teams. So really the question is, who do I have at 2? Who do I have at 1? At the number 2 spot, I am going to go with the Dallas Fuel. Defending champions, moving over to the APAC region for this season. This team should be, in theory, among the top of the league. They should, in theory, be one of the most popular teams. They should be a team that we all think is one of the best. I don't love what their kind of roster is now. The change to this roster, the kind of, in my opinion, slight downgrade of the support line. I loved Chio and Fielder. I think they were the best duo in the league last year when it comes to supports. MCD is very good. He's a very talented player. He's looked good since he's joined the Overwatch League. He's not Fielder, right? But he's still very good. He's still very solid. This is still one of the best support duos in the league. Bliss is a bit of a question mark, of course, coming in from O2 Blast. He looked good on that team. He is going to be the main support. I don't know what you get out of him in the kind of double flex metas. That's one of my concerns with Bliss as a player. But I think this team is in a good spot. I'm curious to see what they do in that 6th player spot. They haven't announced the 6th player yet. I think we can all agree that if Fearless was not on this Fuel roster last year, they would not have won the Grand Finals. He was instrumental in their success in the playoffs. His Winston was super, super good. I don't really trust Hanbin that much on the things that he isn't known for. If you're getting him on Diva, if you're getting him on Sigma, Junker Queen, Zarya, the off tanks that we consider from the Overwatch 1 era, I think he's incredible, right? Those are the heroes that I look at Hanbin and I go, you are going to get absolutely mind-bogglingly good play. How is this team going to look if that isn't the meta, if that isn't the type of hero you're getting? I think he'll be fine on a hero like Ramatra. They also don't have the most flexibility in their DPS like they've had in the past. Now, to be fair, Edison and Sparkle both last year were the primary starters for this team and looked really, really good. Edison proved a lot of doubters wrong last year. One of the biggest players in that kind of grand finals, in that playoff run. I would like to see them have another damage player just because double hit scan is not really on the table much for this team. But all in all, they just have the talent, right? And that is the thing about this team that puts them over the edge for a lot of these other teams around them, is they're just really, really talented. They're so incredibly talented as a team. There's a reason why they won the grand finals last year. There's a reason why they're still one of the, maybe not favorites, but one of the teams that most people look at as a kind of big name going into this region. And so I think that it's not really a surprise that I have them here at number 2. That obviously means that my number 1 team is the Hangzhou Spark. And I'm just going to be really blunt with this. This is a super team, right? If you are to make a Chinese super team in the Overwatch League, this is pretty much it. Maybe 1 or 2 players you would change out. Maybe you'd want Xerneas instead of Lengsa or something like that. But we're talking about the two greatest DPS players that China's ever produced, and two of just the best DPS players in Overwatch history in Shy and Leave. Arguably the greatest tank player that China's produced in Gushui, and another one of the greatest in 20, and then Lengsa and Monk, who are two of the best supports we've seen in the Chinese scene. This is a very good team with really good players, really good flexibility and depth. Shy and Leave are super flexible. They can play pretty much anything you want out of them, and that gives them an elevation kind of over some of the other kind of teams in this region. So they can play a lot of things, and I think that helps them a lot, and their support line is just as flexible as well. I won't say that they are meta-proof. I don't really think there's ever been a team that's meta-proof, but they're certainly meta-resistant. I don't think there's really any meta that this team will be awful in. They can cover whatever you need them to cover. They can play pretty much anything at a high level, and I think that this team right now looks like just the best team in the Eastern region. And I haven't even mentioned the fact that their head coach is Rui, who every time he has been head coach in the league has led the Chengdu Hunters to the most success they have found. He was the head coach for Leave's MVP year, and he was the head coach when the team had their kind of inaugural season where, despite some of the struggles, they looked very good that year. They were a very solid team that really did find kind of a niche and a place where they looked good. And they were a team that a lot of people enjoyed watching, right? The other two seasons, they were down. They had rough years when he wasn't the coach. Hangzhou Spark have been an interesting organization throughout their history. They have made weird decisions. They've had huge rosters in the past. This is the team that I look at and say, this is what you want if you're this team. You have the stars of Chinese Overwatch. You have what is arguably going to be the Chinese World Cup team in many ways here on this roster. I love what they've done. I love the talent on this roster. Do I think they are a guaranteed lock to be the best team in the Eastern region? Absolutely not. But what I look at with this team, what I see with this team, is tons of talent, tons of potential, and to me, they are the number one team right now if I had to take a look around this Eastern region. So there you go. That is my APAC region, Eastern region power rankings for the 2023 season. It's interesting, of course, going into this year, we're going to have contenders team in the mix. So we don't know necessarily who's going to be the kind of main teams competing, but we know that there's teams like O2 Blast that have a pretty solid roster, and it'll be interesting to see how the Eastern region kind of plays in with all of these contenders teams making their way in. But for now, we get to watch these Overwatch League teams. We'll kind of see where they go, and maybe when we get to the midseason, once we have seen contenders teams compete with them, depending on what we have there in terms of kind of the teams that qualify to return guaranteed or stuff like that, maybe I will add them into these power rankings later on, depending on where we get with that. But for now, this is the Eastern region. These are the 7 teams, and that is it for today's power rankings. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below, what you agree with, what you disagree with, like I said at the top of the video. And if you enjoyed this video and want more like it in the future, consider liking and subscribing, as your support does mean a lot to the channel. I really appreciate all the support I'm getting this offseason. I'm so excited for the season to start. Get back onto the grind, the picks, the predictions, the recaps, all that stuff coming very, very soon. But for now, that is all. Thank you once again. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.